Hi and welcome to another video, and in this video I want to cover these tools that I use quite frequently, and there is one of them that you definitely need to know that it's out there. Alright, what do we got here in my front? Well, we got a gouge 18 nail gun, battery powered, a pin nailer and a staple gun. These things are great for woodworking projects. But there is one, and that is definitely this one, that I wasn't aware of, because this is a pin nailer that leaves almost no trace when you shoot your pins. These things are so tiny, they almost leave no trace, and these are quite long. You have them in different lengths. So a pin nailer is for woodworking ideal if you're gonna glue something together and you shoot in a pin just to hold it just enough to let the glue cure, then this thing is great. A pin nailer is definitely my new favorite thing. Beforehand I had a gouge 18 gun which leaves double the size of the trace instead of this one, but I had that on air. So I always had that hose, which wasn't ideal, so I really like to have a battery powered gun. And these things are all battery powered, they all use the same platform, and you can go, I think, 6 or even 8 models more up to 90mm nail guns from the same brand with the same battery. And there is a technique that HiKOKI use. They have a certain technique, you have to look it up, that this thing is, there's always pressure. It's almost like having a air pressure nail gun, only then with a battery. That's unique. They are unique with that whole system. So you don't have to wait until it reloads or anything like that. So you can smash a lot of nails in a very short time. So these things are phenomenal in that. So let's have a look to the pin nailer, the gouge 18 nail gun, what the trace difference is. Occasionally in woodworking you don't want to have any trace, but a small nail would be quite handy, and then this guy is super handy. Alright, let's start with the gouge 18 pin nailer. There is a locking system here, so you have to unlock it, and then you have to put it on. And now there's even another function as well, which I will explain as well, and that's that other button. So here you have to turn it on, and there's a light here, super handy when it's dark or you don't have enough light on your workpiece. So let's shoot a nail. Are the nails in there? So I'm shooting 25mm nails, gouge 18 in this ash wood. This is the trace of the gouge 18, 25mm. Now let's take this pin nailer, and there's a fun thing with this. This works with a magnet, so you don't have to turn it on. It's always on. So basically you do the same thing. You push this here and then you shoot, and now you can see that is almost a third of the trace of my gouge 18. So that tiny hole there is the pin nailer, and that is the gouge 18. So let's do it again. Gouge 18, pin nailer. That is insane. That is fantastic when you need to glue something together, when you need to do any small operation, then the pin nailer will do a great job. So these are the differences. This is the gouge 18 nail. As you can see, it's roughly 1mm, and this is the pin nailer gun, and it's actually 0.6-ish, but this has a small head and this is almost headless, so these are basically straight. You have to be aware, if you put them in, there is an arrow, and you have to stick that arrow towards the outside of the gun. That's very important. That's the way how they made these nails. So a nail gun is definitely my new favorite thing. Now if we compare these two, this one goes up to 50mm and this one goes up to 35mm. So there's a slight difference there. I think it also has to do with the power that is in this machine versus this machine. Now there's one other function that I really want to explain on this gun, which is also very cool. Alright, so you have to do a lot of nailing. For example, you are making a cleef wall or anything like that, or you are, I don't know, paneling, where you need to use this gun. And this counts for also bigger versions of this one as well. So the option works the same. If you need to shoot a lot of nails, what I did in my shop here, when I did all these boards, I was shooting 70mm nails, and then there is another button here that you have to turn on. That basically means you can hold the trigger and then it will automatically shoot a nail if you push that pin over there. So what it does, I hold the trigger and then it's super easy to walk over a board and shoot nails. So you can keep on shooting until your magazine is empty. And that is this button here. You have to be aware though, if you are keeping your trigger a longer period of time, you don't use it, or if you hold the trigger, you shoot and you're keeping it like this and you don't shoot in a certain amount of time, it will automatically stop. And that has to do with a safety feature. So as you see, it doesn't work anymore. All the time I was saying that, I was holding the trigger, and now it doesn't work anymore. So I have to unrelease the trigger and do it again. That's a very important thing that you have to keep in mind. And that's a safety feature. For example, it hangs on your pants and something is triggering this here, and it holds the trigger and you walk to beside a wall, and believe me, the bigger nail guns are insanely strong, and then you shoot a nail when it touches something, which is, I would say, almost deadly. So it's a safety feature that is in there. Obviously you have to unlock it by pushing the button again in, and then when you store it, you have to put it on safe, and then it's good to go. So is a nail gun super handy? Yes. When you do draw bottoms, when you do backboards, when you want to glue something together, when you are making a simple jig and you want to hold it together for a couple of minutes, so let the CA glue cure or the normal glue cure, I think these things are great. And it's especially great that they're all battery powered. Makes it a lot easier to grab and a lot easier to use. So last but not least, I do have the staple gun from HiKOKI as well. You can get different kind of staples to add in here. It uses the same battery, and a staple gun is ideal. Sometimes I make chairs, then I want to have a staple gun, and I found this thing very powerful and very useful for some operations. So definitely check out the pin nailer if you're not familiar with that. And if you are in the market for a nail gun, these two are my favorite. I use several brands, but I'm a really big fan of having one battery platform, having a very reliable gun in my shop, and I think the pin nailer is definitely a great add-on, and the Gouge 18 I was always a fan of. But this is a very reliable gun where this mechanism that sits in here works just great. It feels really good, it's super strong. So check it out, and if you got any questions, leave a comment below. If you like this video, thumbs up, and see you in the next video.